is the network service of the NTA.
We are taking ourselves to task today, talking about the media. We have a very inimical role and responsibility to play in every society, in Nigeria, on the African continent, and in the world. As agenda setters, we are change agents. How have we fared? Talking about making changes so that the people can feel the impact, they can hear our voice through the traditional media, which involves the television, the radio, and the print media. And now we move on to the new media, talking about the social media. There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's YouTube, there's lots more, where we interchange, where we mingle, where we communicate. As the first pillar, talking about the fourth estate of the realm, how have we fared in terms of setting the agenda? Being the voice of the voiceless, speaking for the people, being the link between government, between the private sector and the populace. That is the focal point of our discussion today. Welcome to Weekendale. My name is Thelma. But it will be a pleasure to exchange ideas and to learn together with you on the program today. In the course of the program, our friend Suleiman Babajia Usman will join us. You're watching Weekendale. It's great to have you keep our company on the program today. The media as agenda setters. What is our role in interpreting government policies, as well as interpreting the message for the populace to decipher, to understand, and to make the necessary adjustments? Francis Ogbe is setting the tone for our conversation today with this overview.
New lease of life to the communication industry in Nigeria, as it ushered in a new medium of expression and communication for the people of Nigeria. With the introduction of new media technologies came more opportunities to the broadcasting sector.
The social media has also liberalized news outlets and platforms. On the comfort of your home, you can generate your own news or get your news and post.
In the social media, the bad outweighs the good because, for instance, there was a time that there was a report, was it that the Igbos were killed in Kano or something like that, and then there was a retaliation in the Onitsha or somewhere, and then the people in Kano also started, at the end of the day, they found that nothing like that happened. So the new media actually is causing more harm.
Nigeria is a country of about 200 million people. The implication of this is that the way the generations of those born after 1980s consume media is certain to become extinct, as social media is almost becoming mainstream media, with Facebook Live, YouTube, Instagram, online television, online radios gradually taking over. Blogs, for instance, have become a popular means of communication. As such, they are a new form of public speech which gives a forum to the average person to express their ideas, opinions, and concerns to a wider audience.
Today you find out that if you are called a journalist, it means that you have gone through a certain course, you have been certified, you have been registered, and you are authorized to report. Just like if you're a doctor, you're an architect or whatever. But these bloggers, anybody, whether you're an engineer, a surveyor, an architect, a journalist, a builder, you can be a blogger so long as you can just go online. In fact, they even make it easier now that they even create samples that you can just, by the click, you have created your own a blog. And then you continue to do whatever you want to do. As most people, they're angry at something, they just go to their blog. It's already all over the world. So I think that too should be regulated.
As the country is witnessing the rise of social media accounts, more and more brands and businesses have started deciding to include influencer marketing into their strategy to promote their product or services.
Because those influencers we are talking, they make huge revenues from those platforms. And it is on that basis that you find even big companies using them as advertising platforms, and they make money from that. So my take is it's positive, yes. Of course, until Hush Puppy was arrested, he was a big celebrity. You see him with the high and mighty, and that's how it is all over.
Most of the professions we have, and because this still comes back to journalism, it's a regulated body. You have associations, you have unions. Does bloggers have any association or union that discipline people? Is there any law that guides them? These influencers, are they registered with the government? Do we have a list of their members? So you find out that when you completely deregulate this practice, is just left at the whims and caprices of anybody to just report anything they want to report. Certainly, it creates more harm. So these influencers, as so long as I'm concerned, even by my background, anything that is not regulated causes more harm than good.
The advent of the social media has redefined who a journalist is. The exclusive preserve role once held by the gentlemen of the press in news gathering, dissemination and public opinion molding has now been democratized and thrown open to just anybody who possesses a smartphone, laptop as well as internet connection. Consequently, the need to sanitize the social media space.
The problem with regulation is who does the regulation and how partisan or these bureau patterns with the structures that do the regulation and with our democratic tenets and our capacities for mischief. And then even the lack of a transparent, open and accountable process of recruitment of the key management of regulatory agencies. We always have them populated with people like us politicians, and we would like to do the biddings of our parties or those who put us there. To that extent, you'll find ordinarily good news for a democratic setting will now be attributed as fake news and people criminalized.
You, the traditional media, for instance, if you publish anything, people normally take you to court, you pay money. I mean, it has happened. A lot of newspapers, people are taking them to court and things like that. So it's not anything different. Absolutely, it's not anything different. So if the traditional media is regulated, why wouldn't the social media or the new media be regulated?
Today, almost all the mainstream media in Nigeria now have an online presence with a considerable number of viewers and readers on Facebook and other social media platforms. Today on Weekend Deal, our focus will be on the new media that has become a force to reckon with.
Thank you, Francis. The media as agenda setters and interpreting the policies of the government and other things so that the populace can understand. Earlier, I told you that Suleiman Babaji Osman will be joining us. And Sule is here. Sule, how are you?
Yes, here, of course, the rains, I hear, and of course, a lot of times you get hooked up with the rain. But it's good that I'm here finally.
Great to have you.
Yeah, so media, certainly, we can never ever overemphasize the role of media in the society because according to some people that media doesn't tell you what to think. But certainly from their narrative they can tell you what to think about because media wields a lot of power in the society and sometimes they can make, according to Malcolm X, that they can make, innocent person look guilty. And then a guilty person
look innocent.
So that's the dynamics of media. And of course, whatever we do, we must remember that we have a responsibility in the society that is making it better. And of course, Bayo Ogori put this feature together that is making heroes out of villains.
Values of respect for elders, honesty, accountability, integrity, hard work, punctuality, and abhorrence of corruption seem to be fading away for the celebration of ostentatious lifestyle and the promotion of villains as heroes. To halt this drift in our value system, President Muhammadu Buhari recently honored two distinguished Nigerians, Josephine Hugo, a honest Nigerian who returned millions of naira she found at the airport while on duty, and Bashir Abubakar, who rejected a bribe offer of $412,000 from a drug trafficker.
You recall last year, President Muhammadu Buhari on June 12 honored a lady from the airport in Lagos who worked in FAN, I believe, Federal Aviation. This lady cleaned toilets, and she demonstrated an act of outstanding honesty. Discovered a huge sum of money which would have solved most of her life problems. But she surrendered this, and for which, in return, not only did she get this presidential endorsement, you know that the agency built a house for her.
You would expect that such a woman who probably doesn't earn much for her hard work would have bolted with the money, what some would have regarded as manna from heaven. But she did not do that.
Sadly, however, the feats by these two distinguished Nigerians barely made the headlines. One wonders, what value does the media place on hard work and integrity?
An editor who is properly guided, who is professional and thoroughly bred in their training, they ought to pick roles that build societies, not to destroy them. And they ought to align their own news judgment in line with all of that. If they don't do it, then it is tragic, but I think that perhaps a lot more training will do, and media owners also, when they come to pick and appoint people into positions of responsibility, such as editor, they are able to pick people who have the necessary preparation and training to undertake those jobs.
I believe the media is empowered and allowed to report every side of a story, the good, the bad, the ugly. That's the job of the media. The media cannot be selective in what they report. The media is only allowed in their editorials to take a position.
Some analysts are, however, of the opinion that there is no such thing as evil or good. The proponent of this school of thought believes that the media should report all perspectives and allow the society to form their opinion.
We've been accused in the past of covering the weddings of Abacha's daughters. That's our job. All newspapers covered it. But Ovation went there and took the best pictures. Maybe that's our crime. But there is nowhere we wrote about Abacha being a good man or being a bad man. That is not the job of Ovation. We are a largely photographic journal. We allow our readers to see the reality of the events we carry. That's all. We don't pass judgments. We don't get involved in politics.
The arrest of some cybercrime kingpins in Dubai gives credence to a media culture that celebrates individuals of questionable characters with impunity.
The media is like the watchman on the hill, having a panoramic view. So they are the ones who should help the society to see who is doing good, pick them out and showcase them. And the society would celebrate.
There is a need for the media to extol acceptable standard of behavior and promote our heroes and heroines.
And what a fitting way to wrap up that package, because when you are a patriot, when you love your country, you will do well by it. So having that anthem is a reminder that as a Nigerian, we have a responsibility. Especially in these days where we have new media and trad media. Everybody's playing their role, whether as a formal media structure or as an independent media contributor. As a producer, as a blogger, we have the new and then we have the trad media.
Definitely. And then we must strive for that balance to ensuring that whatever we put out there is accurate. It's something that is not misleading, because that's what some people do deliberately, by the way, to just to, you know, pursue a certain agenda that is not in the interest of the nation. And of course, we must deviate from that if truly we want to negotiate development for this country.
And be the responsive and responsible change agent that we are supposed to be. In the course of the week, Suleiman Babaji Osman spent time chatting with the founder of Leadership newspaper. He is well known, and we're talking about none other than Sam Nda Isaiah. Let's see that.
Talking further about media and agenda setting vis-a-vis the socio-economic development of Nigeria. And of course, along the way, we'll be talking about those challenges affecting the media sector in Nigeria. And to do that, we have joined us here the founder and chairman of Leadership Group. Join me to welcome Mr. Sam Nda Isaiah. You're welcome to this session.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
You have been in the media cycle for decades now, and of course, from when you started and what you see being practiced today, would you say there are noticeable differences in terms of media agenda vis-a-vis the political development of Nigeria?
Media business, so to say, is strictly not like your any type of business. Every media house came or should come with an agenda, and the agenda is not divided into right agenda. No. There's always no successful media is still alive that has no agenda. You have a cause, you have your reason for being, and you promote it in such a way that will be reasonable, lawful, and intelligently. There's also a level of responsibility that must go with media. Every media house, irrespective of your agenda, must work. As long as we're going to remain in Nigeria, you must protect the national interest.
Of course, in 1992, the media was deregulated, and of course, the public media also that time started, looking for commercials to sustain themselves, so just like the private sector. But in as much as we are going out to look for the means of sustenance, some people believe that that has affected the profession.
If you are going to be too irresponsible about it and think that you are going to pander more to the interests of those that give you adverts or give you patronage. You see, the people are no fools. They see these things easily, and they don't stop patronizing you. It's that simple. That's why so many people are dead, in spite of all the funding available to them. It is something you must do responsibly. For instance, even today, I won't tell you the full story. I was told by one of the directors who came to me, somebody came and wanted to place some, I really wanted to pay heavily. They rejected it. And then they came to tell me, in case the guy calls me and is not telling me the whole story. It was, and I know that there are some other media houses that are going to accept this, but any national media house in Nigeria that has succeeded this far will not accept this. Like I said, I'm not going to give you details of it. But it is not as easy as you are putting it. When the United States government killed Osama bin Laden, who was considered their biggest enemy at that time, do you think that the media, one or two, especially the very influential ones, did not know that they were about to do that on that day? Of course they knew, but none came out with it. But in Nigeria, we have media houses that will just get some of these things and start to report these things on their page one. That's one of the reasons why Boko Haram today, well, I'm not saying that's the only reason. It's a major reason why at times they kill our soldiers so easily, because some things that they are planning, some people will just put it on their front page. It happened before. Yeah, I won't name the paper. And all of us had to rally around and, all of us would not, by the nature of the job we are doing, some of these stories, you sit down where you are and it will come to you. But you cannot use everything that you are told. That would be irresponsible. That would be. Because, like I said, if journalism is the only profession that is named in the Constitution, you should be very careful.
Okay, there's this popular saying that he who pays the piper dictates the tune. Yes. And of course, we know that the media, is confronted with a lot of challenges. Maybe you share with us why these challenges persist. We talk about remuneration, we talk about poor condition of service, we talk about how journalists have been given brown envelope in order to, write a story to suit a particular narrative.
And the truth about media houses, if you don't dictate it, somebody else will. That's the truth. And people don't know this. If you leave your paper or you leave your TV house or you are trying to be so cute because you don't do, somebody else will do that. And we know. So you have to know everything. And no matter even what you do, people still plant stories. So it's something, it's a challenge we continue to face. And even last week, I think I told the MD to dismiss somebody. I saw a story, I know it's planted. Of course, I have a particular agenda that I have in mind when I decided to go to set up leadership. For instance, we were the main paper to first stand against Tottenham. We coined the word Tottenham. We did. And Obasanjo knew we were his number one enemy. He knew. We didn't hide it. And we had no apology. From any time that we are going to, when any of such major national events come up, we sit down and agree on how we are going to go about it. We were the first to say we are against amnesty to Niger Delta militants, terrorists, as we call them in leadership. We are against amnesty to Boko Haram people, and we're still against it. We're against the amnesty that is being discussed by some northern governors for common criminals. That is not governance. And that is our agenda. We will not allow anybody else to come and. So if I'm going to, I'll dictate it on, yes. Of course, do you know what it takes to set up a newspaper, Islam, or to set up a TV house? Yes, I will. I don't think there's anything wrong in that. Your second question is about.
It's about working condition of the media personnel.
Now, the Nigerian milieu, we operate within that space. So don't single out the media having challenges of at times paying salaries. Many state governments don't pay salaries. They even get free allocations from the federal government. There's no newspaper house that gets, well, I don't know, unless if you are government owned. So why do you think that occasionally we not, and many of the adverts we get that are from these state governments. As for broad envelope, we don't. There's some things in leadership that can allow you immediate dismissal. That's one of them.
Okay, we're actually talking generally now, not specific to leadership. Of course, I know of media organizations whereby if you collect anything like a brown envelope, it means sack for you.
Yes, I don't know about what I'm telling you about what I know, and I believe that substantially we are all the same. We talk about corruption in Nigeria. We sack people every day, stealing. They're stealing. These are the same people that accuse the government or state governors and local government. You think that if they become state governors, they will change? In fact, I tell you now, this a digression. There are more people that are waiting to get there to steal than those that are currently stealing. We have challenges regarding, like you said, brown envelopes. You sack somebody today, maybe the guy that you are bringing is worse than that person. So it's something you continue to do. The same, just like the government.
Now, aside this, what are other challenges you think the media is confronted with in Nigeria?
The first problem is not capital. As you succeed, the capital will come. Your first problem is human resources. More than half of those that are there are thieves. They're thieves, including leadership. So only few are working hard. Most are there to steal. So they bring you down every day. Can you imagine? And I'm sure you understand that more as in leadership now, we have officially abrogated our advert department. We disbanded it. But you know what? When we did, our revenue increased. I don't know who you called, which government you called the most corrupt in Nigeria. But the corruption in media houses is worse.
Is it to do with the fact that they are not well appreciated in terms of, providing conducive working condition?
They resign. You resign. Either you go to a place where you will be more appreciated, or you start something on your own. The second one also has to do with, for print media now, the escalating cost of newsprint is tyrannical. There's nothing like it in this world. Newsprint. I must use newsprint and discard it every day. I don't think if you're not a media person or a newspaper person, you will not understand this that I'm saying. You are forced to take loans, of course, to expand. By the time you finish paying one loan, you are so exhausted. But now that this CBN, the governor has been very gracious to, this COVID thing now. We had a Zoom meeting with him, the media owners, and he has been gracious to accept that he's going to create he has always done it for us, creating a special fund for us, which we can access with 5% interest rate. It can be better.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. We have been chatting with Mr. Sam Ndah Isaiah. He is the chairman and founder of Leadership newspaper, one of the leading newspapers in...
A very interesting conversation there that Sule had with the founder of Leadership newspapers. And it still brings us back to what we took off today. The media ought to be fair and just, ought to have a wide view, a lot of knowledge about everything, and should seek to verify and authenticate any information they are putting out there. And even when you feel you've made a mistake, there's another opportunity to make a quick follow-up. Some can call it a rejoiner. Sule, what was the experience like?
He was very frank, very honest in his responses. And then, of course, one other issue that, of course, you didn't get to see there was the fact to do with the security of the media practitioners anytime they are carrying out their responsibility. Because the truth is, it's a very dangerous work we do. And people must appreciate that we sacrifice a lot, to be here. And then, of course, the security agency must do everything possible to ensuring that the lives of the journalists or the media practitioners is well, secured anytime they find themselves in the field in the course of executing their responsibility. And of course, the government in so many ways have actually used the media, rightly so, in terms of interpreting their agenda, their policies, so that people understand better where they are coming from and what the people need to do in order to make these policies a reality.
The NTA, as one of the foremost media organizations, not just in Nigeria but in Africa, has often taken on the responsibility not just to interpret government policies, but to pass on message to the people that will have the most positive impact.
Definitely.
And when the government set off to say, right from Operation Feed the Nation till now, there's been a gradual message to the people to diversify our economy from oil to agriculture. And it's very good news that many young people have taken up that challenge and are doing quite well.
Definitely, Thelma, and of course it's a public media, so you don't expect anything less from the NTA. And one thing NTA is doing, which I particularly like, is the fact that creating a focus more on the need to stop rape in the society. And of course the message is getting across, because the vibe you get outside this this institution, a lot of people will tell you, wow, this is a very good thing NTA is doing, and it's something that we must continue to do, and not just rape. There are other issues.
Even with COVID,
yeah,
we were consistent and regular passing on the message to the people. We have not even rested on our oars even up till now.
Okay.
People are getting complacent, so they need to continue to hear the message. Do what is right, not just sometimes, but all the time. We continue to unveil what several of our correspondents and colleagues have done around the country, so that you can fully comprehend our message and the media. You know, we talked about the new media earlier. That's talking about social media. And that's why Deyemi put this package together. He's telling us the role of bloggers, of vloggers, in a bid to pass on the message independently, but still they have a responsibility to do it right. Deyemi, let's see this.
On a time, the world relied only on traditional media, like the television and radio, for news information. Today, the new media, especially blogs, have taken center stage and playing king in the business of news gathering.
Now you have access on the go. And all of these has also brought about lots of versatile content creators, taking over the space, giving information on the go, giving information as it breaks, giving news as it breaks.
There are numerous blogs in Nigeria that serve as news outlets, fashion, music, and other social interests.
They are more entertaining and captivating. It's not like what we see on TV, where everything is static and they all look serious. I mean, from the person giving the news, whether it's entertainment or not entertainment, you get to see the person's personality. It's more interesting. They're interacting with the viewers and all.
Most committed bloggers are actually news junkies, as they hunger and thirst for news on the go. They also make use of Google alerts, bookmarking sites, and also ask for stories and updates, and do go overboard sometimes.
The world is very dynamic. You have to understand your public. They're asking for it. Now people are tired of having to wait till 7 p.m. before stories of something that happened 7 a.m. is given to them. If it happens 7 a.m., they want to hear it 7 a.m. They don't want to wait till 7 p.m. So the new media is really filling this vacuum for them, and that's spontaneous.
We cannot take away the fact that some blogs are very detailed with their news information, as some journalists use them as their go-to source for news updates. But it is believed that they should not be considered as a reliable source of news, as they are strongly opinionated and can lack the professionalism required in journalism.
Once they get it, you'll be amazed at how fast these stories are shared on social media. And most times they're never balanced, they're never, edited, they're never investigated. So far, I do not think there is a balance.
A lot of bloggers put a certain amount of effort into verifying their news. However, I can't deny that a lot also just do copy and paste, and this has an adverse effect on what the public consumes. So I think blog as the source of news should exist, but some form of measure should be put in place to ensure that bloggers have some sort of training before starting, or at least within their first year of operation.
Most of them are selfish. It's just because of the money, and they're not even thinking about tomorrow. So they just publish things without being sourced. And if it is being sourced, they're not even verifying that whether the source is giving them the actual thing. And to me, most of Nigerian bloggers, they are more of a pro thing. Like, I heard somebody said this. They are not even sure whether it is true or not.
The new media is definitely here to stay. What kind of laws should guide their operation, and what implications can they face in carrying out their duties?
Now, I can say the law that still guides the bloggers in Nigeria as we speak presently are the law of thought. If you say Mr. Hayes is this, and that happens to injure the character of Mr. Hayes, Mr. Hayes has a right under the law of thought to take it up. once you can establish that your integrity, your goodwill, your person has been injured, by words spoken or written by a blogger or any other members of the public, the court will award, a lot of costs against such person.
We cannot take away the elements of nation building because information put out shapes a lot of public opinion.
News blogs have a whole lot of role to play in nation building by uniting the people, promotion of the cultural heritage, promoting the good things, promoting tourism, promoting the entire African, the entire Nigerian dream.
Well, that's well done by Deyemi. And trust me, Thelma, social media, the new media, is definitely here to stay, and there's nothing we can do about it. But the only thing we can do going forward is to ensure that, I know a lot of people have different views about the need to regulate the social media, but trust me, something just must have to be done, to ensure sanity in that space, because you might.
But I heard you talk with the leadership founder, and he said, how is it going to be possible?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. And that's why you need a lot of, consultations. You need, the stakeholders need to come together and fathom a way out of this, challenge, because definitely if it is not controlled, it might lead to chaos. Of course, you have, witnessed character assassination on that platform. And at the end of the day, you keep dragging, issues over and over again. So, but, and by the way, they are also, purveyor of fake news. And you know what that, did in Rwanda, where people were, a different agenda was sold to people, and at the end of the day, led to genocide. So we need to be responsible in engaging the social media space.
That is so key. Responsibility is key.
Yeah. All right. Right now we go on a break, and after that, of course, we're going to have Thelma during the week actually spoke to somebody who's very important in the media cycle. So let's take this break, and after that, we talk more.
The media is often described as the fourth estate of the realm, a position that we take and hold with very high regard. Now, looking at the agenda, we have a responsibility to set the agenda. How well have we done that? That's why we're talking with the Director General, the Voice of Nigeria, Mr. Osita Ikechukwu. So, setting the agenda, how well has the media performed in that regard?
What we have found that if you want to assess what the media had done, that it's better to talk to the public than us, because what will I say now? Would it be as if I'm trying to assess our role? Otherwise, our traditional role is already known by the public, that we inform, we educate, entertain as well. And for some of us that government media, we've tried to stay above the fray, to report accurately events. We became kind of a reference point for those who doubt stories about Nigeria, or those who do not actually rely on the social media. They refer to us. I think today we could say that we're authoritative. We're more accurate in our reporting. We're trying to not to sensationalize our stories. We'll try to report it as it is. So we become a reference point.
We often say that the media is the voice of the voiceless. Are we really standing up for the voiceless, for those who cannot speak for themselves?
The people remains the news. You cannot dissociate the people from any news story. One, the name, the event. Why is the 5 W's? Where, when, how, who? The who must be there. Because if you're not talking of a human being, for God's sake, what are you talking about? And on the issue that concerns the government of any country, you cannot do that talking about the government as well. Because what is government? Government is a commonwealth where the people decided on their own volition as citizens that instead of trying to protect themselves, instead of trying to build roads for themselves, instead of building schools for themselves, that collectively will join hands, enter into a social contract that a few people should lead us. And by leading us, these are the rules. They should provide us with our commonwealth, so, and so. As the news media, we are reporting how the government is obeying those dictates in the social contracts between the leaders and the led, those who govern and those who are governed. And when the citizens start agitating that there are setting up the contracts, the social contract that is being breached, it is also our duty to also get the government to know that the citizens are agitating, that they are saying this should be done in such a manner to their best of interest. It's also left to the government to clarify their position, because it's not every time that they will listen to all that is said, but it's also incumbent on them to explain to the citizenry, we are not doing what you're telling us to do because there are informations in our disposal that you do not have. We mean well, we want to do it this way for the good of the greatest number of the people. The media in Nigeria still remain relevant and also to the point. There's nowhere in the history of the world where there's no sensationalism or going out of the point to band your own story the own way. Because every medium has its own perspective. There's no television station or radio station that do not have its own perspective. There's no newspaper that do not have its own perspective. That's why when you see the editorial on one topic, it differs, no matter how slight it is. There are newspapers that are known to be conservative. They protect the establishment. And there are those who oppose the establishment. But the good thing about it is that is also how the society is segmented. We cannot all be in the same bench because the resources of the world is so narrow and tiny that it cannot go around the way we want it to go around. For that sake, there is always agitation for one thing or the other. And it becomes the business of the media to explain those differentials and try to create a media angle where they will bring all sides of the story to let the public to know that, yes, your agitation is right, but please don't go to the extreme side because these are part of what the government is doing, you might not know. We'll go ahead to explain those issues. And where it's thought, where we feel that the citizenry are being maltreated or oppressed, it is also the duty of the media to let those who are in government to know that they are not giving the best.
Are we performing at optimal capacity? Is this the optimal performance one can expect from the Nigerian media? And if not, what limits our performance?
The Nigerian media had always had its side. Both before independence, they would mobilize Nigerians that we need to have an independent nation, that the British have done the best, it's time for them to go. That has been the role of the media, and they are the nick of any segment of Nigerian history. When the military came, the media stood its own ground, and throughout the military regime, it was also the media that became the bastion of the defense of civil rights and the return of Nigeria to democratic rule. So, for me, the Nigerian media had done so well to the extent of the development of the country. We've even gone further than that. Luckily, with the private media, a lot of angles have been covered in terms of trying to tell the Nigerian people how it is. Take time and listen to talk show in the morning. You go from NTA, go to channels, AIT and others. You do a comparative analysis and see that we are doing well. You pick up the print media, the same thing. You go to the radio, the same thing. For us in the radio, we also become like a multimedia organization. We also, in pictures, we also in the Twitter, the Instagram, with Facebook and others. A lot of people around the world, because we talked about the 6 time zones, time zones of the earth, we discovered, like in Europe, that most of the people, they are no more using the transistor radio, So what we did was that we now factor the Voice of Nigeria into applications of simple radio, tuning radio, radio guided, and phone app, so that with your smartphone, you can also listen to Voice of Nigeria. Because we said, if we're using the taxpayers' money to advance the opinion in Nigeria and the news in Nigeria, and you know that in Europe, for instance, or in North America, that the people are no more using transistor radios. That the only radio they use is the FM radio that is in their cars. There's no broadcasting in our medium, which is shortwave. What do? We now have to procure applications that the man with his smartphone will also listen to Voice of Nigeria in your simple radio, in tuning radio, and radio garden, and our own phone application in that smart radio. So that broadcast 24 hours of the day, no matter whichever region of the world where you are. If there's a new discovery, you need to grab it as fast as you can. I do not know any medium that do not have a training department. We keep on training and retraining. And why am I focusing on the new technology? It's because if you leave technology out, you are left behind. Sure. And if you are left behind, like us that is funded by the Nigerian state, if you are left behind, those who fund the budget of Voice of Nigeria will ask you, do we still have any need to do that when your audience is very low? So that's why I'm talking of tech, advancement, the dynamism of the modern world.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it.
Well, Thelma there chatting with the boss of the Director General of Voice of Nigeria. And that was quite engaging, Thelma. And I'm sure he talked about the need to, train and retrain the media practitioners.
We're very emphatic about that.
Yeah, that is very important because giving out good quality content, it's essential if you truly want to be a success in this industry.
That is critical.
Exactly.
Authentic, well-informed, well-balanced stories and features.
And I'm sure even Voice of Nigeria have online presence now.
He did say so.
Very important because when this the new media came on board, some of the traditional media, if you like, mainstream media, were kind of skeptical to go into that space. But now it's a space that they have actually embraced, and it's
necessary.
Exactly. If you truly want to remain relevant, of course, you need to dominate that space as well. And of course, our next feature actually talks about the convergence of all of this, and this is put together by Kachi.
Road maintenance has led to a squabble.
We have some breaking news to tell you about. This is out of Bethesda tonight.
The advent of new media has had tremendous influence on every aspect of communication. With the popularization of the internet and digital content, the need for media convergence was established. Media organizations no longer rely simply on just print or audiovisual content, instead, developing cross-media content with social media as a key driver of this convergence. Consequently, new media has, to a very large extent, rewritten histories with impact on some traditional concepts. Newspapers, television, and radio utilize multiple new media platforms to tell their stories. How is this best achieved, and to what end?
We complement what we do on air with our social media. So for instance, if the Beat FM is playing music, any kind of song, we tweet those songs so that people know what we are playing. Because most people listening in might not know the artist and they might not know the title of the song. But when you follow us on Twitter, you see the title of the song, you see the name of the artist, and you'll be able to know. We also interact with our listeners via social media. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Instagram for live videos, short live videos, or if we are interviewing VIPs, so that everybody can tune in and see the faces behind the voices that they hear on radio.
The bottom line, the traditional media format is just not sufficient anymore. Convergence has gained much acceptance and patronage globally because it has made information more instant and more accessible than ever, expanding the reach of media outlets on a phenomenal scale and elevating audiences from consumers to participants.
When it comes to social media, it is a young generation that appreciates it a lot. So we've had to appeal to some younger audience who ordinarily might not be watching NTA on the television. So that's one good impact. And secondly, for our international audience, especially the news, it's more like NTA is where they get the news that happens back home.
The new media is the way to go in terms of trying to combine the traditional way of disseminating information to the online platforms. So online, NTA is playing on almost all the major platforms, be it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube, to extend the NTA programs to online audience.
With the World Wide Web and digital devices, billions of people are now able to access media content that was once tied to specific media and platforms. In these hyper-connected times, people want their information instantly and at their fingertips. With media convergence being utilized at full potential, the possibilities for information delivery and consumption are infinite, now more than ever.
Thank you, Kachi Ogba, for that brilliant package as usual. You know, news is now. Information is now. So where the convergence will be very relevant, very necessary, is where the trad media now merges, such that in spite of our news hours and news packages, other informative programs, we are streaming current info as it unveils everywhere in the world on all our platforms. So they know that we are very current.
Yes, and not even that. I know a lot of people who are looking up to the traditional media, the mainstream media presence or online to confirm stories, because sometimes you have different outlets that give you different information.
Fake news sometimes.
Fake news, a lot of times you see that, but as soon as you start checking, what you do next, you go to the mainstream media to see if they are carrying the same story. And as soon as it's not being carried, you should start asking questions.
Is
and
this
then you should
true?
start
Is this really happening?
And mind you, from that interview, earlier interview with Sam Nda Isaiah, he said that when this news about the president getting married and all of that was, making the round, most people, the serious-minded people, were looking up to the mainstream media to see if that story will reflect. And for once it never did. So you should know that this
they already knew that it's not all true.
Exactly.
They need to verify. And that's where, even being a patriot, that sense of responsibility must come upon all of us. Because as we move on in life, as we journey on this media trad and new, more independent media performers will come on board.
Sure.
Some not trained formally, but still very willing to contribute in that space. They need to come in with that sense of responsiveness and responsibility that it's not enough to own my story. I must verify it. It must be authentic.
So, someone said, before you put out a story, you ask different questions. What is likely going to be the outcome of this? Would it affect somebody negatively? Would it damage somebody's image? These are some of the things you look at before you put out your story. Yes, some people just wake up and decide to be a blogger, social media influencer. There's nothing wrong with all of this, but you have to be responsible.
Trust, let that be our final word on that. Be responsible is so critical. We're still talking about media, traditional media, which is television, radio, and the print, as well as new media. And with this convergence, you can see that we're not different. In fact, we will conquer more grounds when we work together. From Victoria Island in Lagos, we see this, still talking about setting the right tone, setting the right agenda. Naomi did this for us.
My brother. Why should I date your brother? Dating my brother makes the end of my relationship with you. Right?
Mass communication is the process of disseminating information
through mediums such as television, radio, print, film, etc., to a larger segment of the population. The effect of this information on the teeming majority is meant to perform some basic functions in society, namely surveillance, correlation, cultural transmission, entertainment, information, and education. These functions have created theories that explain how the mass media's communication mood affects, influence our perception, and how it can trigger reactions. In 1968, the agenda-setting theory was purported by Maxwell McCombs and Donald L. Shaw.
What is the agenda-setting theory about? It's about influencing the importance placed on the topics of the public agenda, making sure that what's supposed to be at the top of the pyramid is at the top of the pyramid, and that we give it relentless focus and attention. And that
the big question now is, are the Nigerian traditional media setting the appropriate agenda? Indeed, the media, as the fourth estate of the realm, still have more strategic planning to bring its agenda to a logical conclusion.
We need to be more strategic. We need to set the agenda within the media ourselves, through perhaps the NUJ, perhaps the Guild of Editors. We need to say, okay, for the next 3 months, this is what we want to stay on, and this is what we want to pursue, and we want to pursue it to a logical conclusion.
For a fact, the mass media cannot instruct a nation's citizenry on what to do. However, it can chart a course by setting the right agenda that can effect a positive transformation on the mindset of individuals and indeed the country.
Yes, we continue to talk about the relevance of the media and the society, most especially as we, converse for the nation's socio-economic development. And it's been a wonderful time today, engaging this topic. I'm sure tomorrow we'll do more of what we have started today,
yes.
Thelma.
Tomorrow we have the privilege to chat with some captains of our industry. But that will be for us to know and for you to find out when you stay tuned on Weekend right at the top of the hour, talking about 7 a.m. Have yourself a great day. See you again tomorrow.
Bye-bye.